is arguing about the Hazbin Hotel Season 2 finale right now. Some people are calling it rushed, some are calling it disappointing, and some are even saying it fumbled everything that Season 1 set up. But after sitting with it, rewatching it, and really thinking about what this finale actually means for the future of the series, I genuinely believe this might be one of the most important episodes Hazbin Hotel has ever made. Not because everything wrapped up perfectly, not because every character got a happy ending, but because of what this finale broke, what it set in motion, and what it just quietly confirmed about the future of hell, heaven, and the people stuck between them. This didn't feel like just an ending. This felt like the moment where the entire story shifted gears. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. When people say the Hazbin Hotel Season 2 finale didn't feel like a proper ending, I actually think that's exactly the point. This finale was never meant to clean everything up and send everyone home happy. It was meant to expose the cracks that were already forming in heaven, hell, and every single character caught in between. Because if you really look at what this episode did, it didn't just tie off Season 2, it quietly launched the central conflict of the entire series going forward. Heaven and hell are no longer separate worlds pretending they don't affect each other. Redemption is no longer a theory. Overlords are no longer untouchable. And the strongest beings in existence are no longer hiding what they're capable of. That alone completely changes the rules of this universe. The finale shows us that hell can rise up, that heaven can hesitate, and that power isn't as stable as everyone once believed. Vox's defeat isn't just the fall. A lot of people feel like Vox was taken out too quickly in the finale, but honestly, I think his downfall was one of the most perfectly set up character payoffs in the entire season. Vox never lost because he was weak. He lost because he was blinded by his own ego. From the very beginning, Vox was written as a character who survives on control, attention, and belief. He doesn't just want power, he wants to be seen as power. Every screen, every broadcast, every manipulation was designed to make the world believe that he was untouchable. And the thing is, that illusion actually worked for a long time. Even other overlords treated him like he was inevitable. But the finale exposes the truth that had been hiding in plain sight the entire season. Vox was never the mastermind. He was just the loudest. He thought being the smartest person in the room meant he didn't have to look over his shoulder. He thought being adored meant he couldn't be outplayed. And that arrogance is exactly what killed him. Because while Vox was busy putting on a show for heaven, trying to make history with his invasion plan, the people around him were quietly moving pieces he never even noticed. Charlie didn't confront him with force. She baited him emotionally. Alastair didn't fight him head on. He waited. Even heaven didn't react the way Vox expected. Instead of panic, they hesitated. And that hesitation broke his entire plan. The most poetic part is that Vox didn't lose because someone was stronger than him in a traditional way. He lost because for the first time, the world didn't revolve around him. His network failed him. His followers failed him. And the audience he lived for stopped believing. That's why his defeat feels sudden, because once the illusion cracks, there's nothing left to protect him. And this is why his fall matters far more than people realize. The overlords now know that reputation isn't armor. Influence isn't invincibility. And the moment Vox fell, the balance of power in hell didn't stabilize. It shattered. Every remaining overlord now understands that the game is no longer about who is loudest or most feared. It's about who is patient, who is calculated, and who is willing to let others destroy themselves. And no one understands that better than Alastair. Vox's death wasn't just the end of a villain. It was the announcement that this new era of hell belongs to manipulators, not showmen. And that realization alone makes everything that comes next infinitely more dangerous. On the surface, the Season 2 finale makes it look like heaven and hell have finally reached some kind of understanding. Redemption is now real. The exterminations are being questioned. Emily has proven that sinners can change. Sarah has finally opened her eyes. And for a moment, it feels like the universe is actually shifting towards something hopeful. But when you really slow down and look at what just happened, it becomes clear that this piece is built on fear, confusion, and emotional pressure, not on stability. Because heaven didn't choose redemption from confidence. Heaven chose it because they were forced to confront the reality that their system might be wrong. And systems that are exposed rarely stay quiet for long. Emily represents empathy and progress, but Lute represents everything that old heaven stood for: control, punishment, and absolute authority. And the finale doesn't redeem Lute. It strips her of power. That's a very important distinction. She didn't change. She lost. Her army is gone. Her influence is gone. Her certainty is gone. And now she has to answer to people she doesn't respect. That kind of humiliation doesn't create reflection. It creates obsession. Lute is no longer acting from a place of righteousness. She's acting from a place of wounded pride. And wounded pride is one of the most dangerous motivations in this entire story. Because now her hatred isn't fueled by belief. It's fueled by revenge. And at the same time, heaven itself is divided. Emily wants to move forward. Sarah is hesitant but listening. But the rest of heaven, we haven't seen their reaction yet. We haven't seen what happens when centuries of doctrine suddenly collapse. The finale doesn't show riots in heaven, but that doesn't mean they aren't coming. Because when Vox broadcasted his threat, heaven saw something it was never supposed to see: organized sinners, advanced technology, and the potential for real war. Even though the attack never fully happened, the fear did. And fear changes people. Heaven may be smiling right now, but they are no longer ignorant. They now know hell can rise up, and that knowledge alone guarantees future conflict. And this is where Serpentius becomes so important. His survival, his redemption, and his faith in Charlie's vision prove that change is possible. But he also proves something else. Redemption doesn't erase pain. It doesn't undo everything. It simply gives people a chance to move forward. And not everyone in heaven is going to accept that. Some will see him as proof that sinners can change. Others will see him as proof that hell is infiltrating their world. The finale doesn't give us answers here. It gives us tension. And that tension is quietly terrifying. Because heaven isn't falling apart with explosions and battles yet. It's cracking with doubt, resentment, and fear. And those slow cracks are always the ones that lead to the worst collapses. Angel Dust's ending in the Season 2 finale might be one of the quietest moments in the episode, but it's also one of the most devastating when you really think about it. There is no big fight. There is no dramatic speech. There is no heroic sacrifice. Instead, there is something far more painful. Angel walks away, and that single decision tells us everything about where his mind truly is. For the first time, Angel isn't running toward chaos or drugs or distractions. He's running because he genuinely believes that he is the problem. Throughout both seasons, we've watched Angel slowly start to care. He cared about Husk, he cared about Cherry, he cared about the hotel, and for someone like Angel, caring is the most dangerous thing he can do because it gives him something to lose. When the finale hits and everything spirals into danger, Angel doesn't see himself as a survivor or a victim anymore. He sees himself as the cause. In his mind, his existence puts everyone he loves at risk. And instead of fighting that feeling, he accepts it. That's why he leaves. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much. And the truly heartbreaking part is that this is exactly how abuse rewires a person. Angel doesn't think he deserves safety. He doesn't think he deserves love. He thinks pain is the natural result of who he is. So when things finally start to go right, when people genuinely show up for him, his instinct isn't to lean into that warmth. His instinct is to escape it before he ruins it. That's why his return to that abusive world feels so heavy. It's not just a setback, it's a relapse of the mind. And what makes this even more painful is knowing how deeply Husk and Cherry have been affected by him. Angel was the one who showed them that change was possible. He made them believe they could be more than what hell turned them into. And now, in his absence, they are left with the same fear he has. What if it was all for nothing? But the difference is that Husk and Cherry see Angel clearly. They see his worth even when he doesn't. Angel's story right now isn't about failure. It's about self-worth, guilt, and the terrifying space between wanting to be better and believing you're allowed to be better. And that's why his arc moving forward is going to be so hard to watch. Redemption doesn't always start with strength. Sometimes it starts with hitting the emotional bottom and realizing that staying broken is no longer survivable. Angel doesn't need to be saved from hell. He needs to be saved from what hell convinced him he deserves. And when that confrontation finally happens, it's not going to be loud. It's going to be raw, emotional,